Hello and welcome to Card Shop Insiders, a podcast where we combine decades of experience from both sides of the counter to take you inside the business of local game stores and collectible gaming hobbies. I'm Noah and I play games, lots of them.
Hi, I'm John. I'm a card shop owner and veteran of the industry.
Well, with our combined perspectives, we're ready to take you inside, so let's jump in.
Let's let it rip there, Noah. First off, no. How was your weekend?
Weekend was good. Nothing super exciting.
Hotter than hell, though.
It was. My daughter got to do the news weather report, and she reported to the entire region that we had no plans for the weekend. It turned out to be true. So we came over here to play some cards.
You did. You were here almost all day Saturday for a change.
It was a good part of the day, yeah. Less time than we were here for the tournament the week before, but it was good. We got everybody came in. We played some Lorcana. That was loud on the audio recording.
That's all right. Don't worry about it.
We played Lorcana for a while. We had some fun talking about the new set and getting ready to do the set championships here. And then my son and I got to play in the Star Wars tournament that we ran this weekend, which was sort of a follow-up to the store showdown, but less people attended. But we had a lot of fun. Luke got a little bit of revenge. He beat the guy that knocked him out of the top 4 the week before.
And you got revenge on Luke?
I got revenge on Luke, which was devastating to him because it put him down in the bottom.
But he still got one game out of it, right?
He did.
So you got to be proud of him for that.
I mean, he knows his deck and he plays it well, and he's having a lot of fun. So he's really excited to try some of the new stuff with the new set and see what he comes up with. And we'll talk about that and make him a deck, and he'll still have some fun. So
Good.
Well, let's jump into the news for a minute, John. We've got our couple of games that we normally cover. I think easiest on the news list, but third down for this week was Magic. On our outline, there's a couple of things that are coming out. There's the new Assassin's Creed Universes Beyond set. People are pretty excited for that. It's a cool intellectual property, and people have played that game. I think it kind of overlaps really well with the type of people that are playing our games. So people are excited to get that, and there's some really cool art in that set. So people seem to be excited. Have you gotten any feedback from people wanting that and ready to buy?
No, they're still shell-shocked with Modern Horizons 3. But yeah, I mean, I've had one or two people ask about it. When is it coming in and that kind of thing, but nothing of any great shakes.
When is it coming in?
God, I think in 2 weeks.
Okay. But like right after that, we're doing the regular set, Bloomberg. Burrow.
Yeah. It's not Bloomberg, right? He's the financial wizard, right?
That's right. It's Bloomburrow.
Yeah.
It's the place that a small animal would hide.
Okay, that's what it is.
Well, that's the theme of the set. There's a bunch of little animals that do magic and stuff. So rabbits.
Well, that should be
mice.
different. That should be different.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's sort of what's the book series? Redwall. There was a book series from the 90s. It's fantasy, and that's kind of the theme they've taken from it. But people are excited for that too. So the release schedule is kind of stacked right now, though. There was some commentary on Twitter about the fact that Magic's got like Modern Horizons 3, and then they got like 3 weeks, and then they've got Assassin's Creed, and then like Assassin's Creed spoilers are going to finish. They're going to release the set, and then they're going to already be doing spoilers for Bloomburrow, and then they're going to release that set. That's like the last week of July, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The problem is, Wizards made an announcement last year that they were going to cut back a little bit because they've had so much coming out. However, what they did have in the pipeline has to keep going until they, massage that pipeline again. So I think next year we're going to see a little bit of a slowdown, hopefully, because as I said before, people just have so much money they can spend.
I mean, I feel like Wizards got on a really good cadence a couple years ago. They had the releases going really well, and they were going through, and then they did the Lord of the Rings thing, and it was really popular. And they were like, we've got money, let's print, let's go.
Yeah. Well, they've gotten greedy.
Yeah.
My own personal opinion. And, and everybody wants these serialized cards.
Yeah.
I guess what's the Emrakul? Is that what the one I forgot which one.
There's a lot of serialized cards.
In this Modern Horizons.
The new set, I think the Chase serialized card is a new version of Emrakul.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's all about the money, Noah. It's all about the money.
Well, I mean, we've talked about that before, though. I don't fault them for chasing money. I think that until people stop buying, they're going to continue to do stuff like this. It just makes it really hard for like a smaller shop.
Because you have to stock it all, and you have to sell it, and you have to move it quickly in order to have that equity to buy more stuff. And
Well,
that's the problem.
Yeah, I think that's the huge problem for you is that, in an old system from Magic, at least, you'd have a whole quarter to like sell and build back up your cash reserve. Mm-hmm. And then you could put out that cash to bring in your pre-order stuff for the next set. But if they're going to do set, this is going to be 3 sets in 2 months, right?
Right. But, the problem is it's not only Wizards, it's all the companies are starting to do this. And in talking to my primary distributor, a lot of accounts are on credit hold because they can't afford all that money. And don't overextend yourself. That's all I can tell a small business owner. Don't overextend yourself because you'll get yourself in trouble.
There's a difference between a small business owner being greedy and a big corporation being greedy.
Right.
A wiggle room for failure is a lot bigger on a corporation like Wizards or like one of these other companies. But when you're running your own shop and it's you and you're the one that answers to the consequences, you can't afford to make a mistake where you don't have the money or you overextend and then you have to pay off a debt that you don't have the money for.
That's true. And, I guess I referred to it last week. You look at your shelf of inventory and a picture dollar bill sitting up there. And if you don't sell those dollar bills and make $1.50 bills out of it or $2 bills out of it, it's not good sitting there. It's collecting dust. Yeah. And you're not making money. So you can't buy if you don't make money unless you have deep pockets.
Yeah. Well, let's jump back over and talk to the Lorcana news. A couple of quick things. Set championships have been announced. They're being scheduled. I think tomorrow is the deadline for scheduling.
I think it was today.
Is it today by 5?
Yeah.
Okay, so then all the set championships should be up. They should be on Melee, right?
Yeah.
And then people should be able to see when those are scheduled for. Ravensburger was really strict, though, with their announcement. They said it had to be Saturday and Sunday events.
Saturday and Sunday for the 4 weeks in July.
Yeah, so
everybody's going to be crunched together.
Right, so we should be able to see, at least locally, how they overlap, and then people will be able to schedule their time to see if they want to go to more than one of these.
Right. Last time I limited it to 16 players. This time it's 24 players. I'm going to bring more people in. I've already had, as of last night, 12 people signed up.
12?
12. And that's not including a lot of our regulars. I think there was only 1 or 2 outsiders that called me, and I gave them the code to get into it. I'm still not going to put the code out, to publicize it. In my newsletter today, what I'm going to say is, hey, guys, if you want the code, call me.
Yeah.
And I'll give you the code that way.
I think that makes sense. I mean, I like the way we did it last time. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I'm less excited about this promo, but they still have the best promos out of everybody for their set championships.
Yeah, they do.
Jumping over to the other game, Star Wars spoiled their Store Showdown promos for next time, and I just don't think they're cool at all. So it's just a boring waste of time.
We'll see what happens. What's boring to you, it may not be boring to somebody else, though.
I mean, somebody's going to want those cards because they want the promo finishes and they want to look good, but they're not even really exciting cards to play as far as I can tell. It's different with this set. The Lorcana one is a card that people aren't really playing a ton of, but it's gotten into some decks. But the cards just look so much better.
No, that's true. It's more professional artwork on the Lorcana, in my opinion.
Well, it's a different art direction, I think. I mean, they're really trying hard to stay in the same category of art, and they're doing a good job curating original art pieces for that game. I think Star Wars is getting original art pieces too, but they went to different types of artists, and they're looking for a different feel and a different style. And so it's really a taste thing. But, I mean, those Enchanted cards in Star Wars look really good. But the new showcase cards got spoiled this week, and those look really good too.
The showcase cards for Star Wars?
For the new Star Wars set? Yeah.
How many are there?
One for every leader. There's 4, 8, 6, 18.
The chances of nil to none to be able to pull them, though. That's the problem.
I mean, I think it's still going to be really hard. I haven't seen one pulled still.
What's the going rate on them now?
On how much do they cost?
Yeah.
A couple $100 each, minimum.
And what's the most popular?
I think I saw yesterday was like $850.
Which one?
I don't remember. Probably Boba Fett.
Okay. Interesting. $850.
Yeah. Expensive stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Other Lorcana updates on the news. We're going to see, you and I are interested in seeing some numbers about how the game's doing for these bigger events. I looked up the tournament in Germany on the 4th of July weekend is sold out, 2,000 participants. They're doing that weird format that we started talking about a couple weeks ago, though.
Which one, the 3-on-3 or something?
No, it's a Friday 1,000-person cap, a Saturday 1,000-person cap, and then the top 32 from each of those events gets to play Sunday in what they're calling the top 64, and you can't play in both tournaments. So you get one shot on one of the 2 days, and if you top 32, you get to play on Sunday.
It's interesting.
It is. I'll be interested to hear the feedback from people that play in it and see what they think. I think a lot of people are unhappy about it, just in general. It's sort of a crapshoot. Like if you and all the best players get into the Friday pod, and then none of the good guys are in the Saturday pod, your top 64 isn't as high quality as if you had just done a 2,000-person tournament.
That's true. Do you think they're just experimenting with different ways of doing things?
I wonder if it's a venue limitation. They haven't done this for any of the other challenges that they've announced. And so I wonder if it's a venue limitation. I wonder if they can't hold that many people on a single day.
Why not get a bigger venue?
They may not have one over there. I don't know. I mean, I don't know anything about Belgium, and I don't know what they've got available. I mean, Atlanta is a really big city in the entire world, and they had a convention center across the street from a convention center. So they
that's true.
Rented space in a different building.
That's true.
The Austin Challenge, which is at the end of July 20th, I think, that is sold out on Eventbrite. So they've sold 2,048 pre-registrations, but only 900 of those people had signed up on Melee.
Let me ask you a question. What the hell is Eventbrite?
Eventbrite is a ticket sales platform, and I don't know why they're doing it that way.
Can't you just pay for it on Melee too? Doesn't Melee have a payment with it? I think.
I mean, Melee has credit card processing.
Yeah, it's too damn confusing.
But I mean, I don't know what the rates are. I haven't looked to compare them. I really don't understand why they're making you sign up on Eventbrite, and then Eventbrite sends you a code, and then you can go to the Melee website and put in the code. Like, it's just really weird. It's either that the fees are are substantially better to run through Eventbrite, or they don't have the confidence in Melee that they represent by running 2,000-person tournaments in them.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
I mean, it had some trouble, but they were running concurrent 2,000-person tournaments the first week of June.
But in France, right? In France,
it was Atlanta in France.
Yeah.
And then in August, they have also sold out the Toronto Challenge already on Eventbrite, but it's not up on Melee for people to register into yet.
Did you convince your wife to go up there yet? Would you?
No, we didn't. We decided not to. We teased about it.
You weren't convincing enough, huh?
I don't know if I was convinced that I wanted to.
Okay.
I don't know. It's a fun idea, but it's a lot of logistics to be able to run up to Toronto for a weekend and then come back.
This is true. Very, very true. And it's expensive.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the deal is getting lodging and being able to get there. It's not an easy trip to take. None of these would be. I mean, it takes a lot of effort to be able to go to one of these. I think Atlanta was the most likely option for us, and that just didn't fit.
Well, I think Austin may not be too bad of a trip either for some of these guys, from this area. I mean,
the flights are still $400 or $500 though.
Yeah, but people would drive. I've had people from Uvio drive into Texas.
Yeah, I mean, I've driven to Gulf Shores and the coast of Alabama and Florida, which is way down there too. it's just such a long drive.
It is.
I mean, and you have to drive, you have to take off more time from work or whatever else you do with your time. And so it's hard to just like check out on like a Tuesday for a 2.5 day run down to Texas and spend the weekend.
People have done it.
I mean, people do. Then that's fine. I'd fly if I was going to one of these things.
I know the guys from Yu-Gi-Oh! Rented a van at one time and drove the van down with 6 or 7 people in it. And they all pulled their resources together, and it was a hell of a lot cheaper than flying.
I mean, I think that would be on dollars, but on time?
Oh, time, yeah, forget it.
It's not cheaper than flying, with time included. But I think that's one of the things that people don't consider a lot is the value of their own time. You know, it's easy to take off work when you work for somebody else and you just throw your time in. Sometimes you get PTO.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
If you're working for yourself or you're in school or something and you don't value the time that you're giving up to be able to do something like that, I think it makes it hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's most of the news. The other news is just that the July release schedule is crammed. We talked about that last week. July 5th through 7th is the pre-release for the Star Wars Unlimited Shadows.
And I still don't have that information yet in the order queue.
Really?
As far as when they're shipping it. Still don't. I mean, I've gotten numbers, as we discussed last week, but it's in the pre-order queue. So it's not in the order queue to let me know when they're going to ship it.
Well, somebody's getting them because they started opening boxes of it on the internet yesterday.
It's coming from Asmodee.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah. So Asmodee should put the squash to that to, get after these people that open them up or sell them to people who open them up.
I mean, that's where the spoilers have come from for these showcase cards. People are opening boxes and taking pictures and getting them on the internet. So
yeah, they got to get their act together and tighten up their distribution and I think they have to be concurrent with Southern Hobby because they're jumping the gun and shipping this stuff out earlier. And I don't know. I don't think it's right.
We talked about the fact that they had to cancel their own pre-orders. So we know that they're not on top of timing of anything.
It's unfortunate, yeah.
The set is supposed to release the week after, 12th through 14th of July.
We'll see what happens. What I think, when's 4th of July? It's
like a Thursday.
Next Thursday, right? So that means that they'll have to ship out either this Friday or definitely by Monday in order to get it to the stores by Wednesday, if they're a 2-day ship. If they're a 3-day ship, they're going to be hurting a little bit because anything's possible with shipping delays, especially with the heat throughout the country.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't know how we talked about it last week. We don't have to rehash it. Scheduling your release and pre-release around a major United States holiday is
stupid.
Just not wise.
No, it's not.
All right. Anything on the other 2 games that you carry in the store? You've got Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Shop.
Well, Yu-Gi-Oh was really hot. They came out with Battle of Legends, Terminal Revenge, and I sold through all the boxes that I had the other day. My primary distributor doesn't have any more, unfortunately, but my secondary distributor, I could have gotten up to 13 of them, but I cut it back to 6, and I added some other things in order to get free shipping. However, they're moving from their existing warehouse to a much bigger warehouse, and they won't start shipping until tomorrow, which is Tuesday, which means I won't get it until Thursday. That's why I cut it back a little bit, because there's another set that's coming out shortly thereafter. But Yu-Gi-Oh! Is still going strong.
Great. That's good to hear for the shop. I mean, we had talked about the trouble you had for May with the events lining up with the release schedule.
There's all kinds of events. Every time you turn around, there's a regional or whatever the hell they call these things. And all the local people go to these. And it takes asses out of the local store seats. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Enough said. You get me ranting about this.
And we don't have to rant about that again. And then Pokemon's just chugging along. They released their new set. They've got a bunch of stuff at Walmart and Target, which undermines people needing to come here to get it.
Of course it does.
And we don't run OP for Pokemon in the stores. So it's kind of an add-on to people that are playing our other games. They'll grab a couple packs for kids and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let's jump and talk about our main topic for today. Let's see, I'm going to use this fancy tool here to mark it so that we can find it later. And then we're going to talk main topic. You had the idea that we should talk about store culture.
Right.
Why don't you give us a little intro to that and let's talk.
All right. Every business, whether it's a retail business or a corporation organization, should have a culture in place where people can identify the way you are. And culture can probably best be described as intangible. It's not something that you can put your finger on and say, this light is intangible. No, this light is tangible. I can reach out and touch it. I guess the best way to describe culture is it's a shared set of values, beliefs, and attitude that make up a store or an organization. Store culture is also reflected in the way customers and employees are treated. Companies or store culture can be taken many different forms, and I'm reading right from it. A positive culture is also based on respect, support, honesty, and alignment with core values. And I think it's important as a small store to develop a culture that your customers can identify with. They come in here, they're greeted, promptly. I don't neglect anybody. I welcome everybody that comes into the stores in order for whether they buy or sit down and play. And I think it's important. I've heard a lot of complaints about people going into other stores and they're just left to fend on their own. People are sitting behind a counter, on their phones, not paying any attention. And you can't do that. In culture, getting back to the overall meaning of it for my store is I always try to keep the store clean, even though it's an old store. I try to make sure everything is organized. When I first moved into this particular store about 10 years ago, the first thing I did was went into the bathroom before I rented it, and the bathroom was a mess, old fixtures and things like that. So I spent a couple $100 getting it fixed, putting a new floor in and, fixtures in it and make it look nice. And to this day, it still looks like it's pretty brand new. I clean it up all the time, or I have somebody come in and clean it. And I've had a lot of people comment on the cleanliness of the bathroom, especially women. And if you can attract the female to come into the play, she's going to let her son or her husband or her boyfriend come into play and say, hey, the place is clean. It's not a dump. Everybody smells good. They don't smell like damn billy goats, which I've had some people come in and smell like that.
Yeah.
And, you have to spend time developing that culture, that perception from that customer, what they think of your store. And, I've tried very hard to do that. And I guess it's working over the years.
Yeah, I think that there's a different feel between different shops and different stores. And if you want to be in a hyper competitive scene and you're really into the competitive tournament, there's a little bit of a different feel to the way the store gets run. There's a different feel to who they cater to. And then there's the casual side of it. We've talked about this before briefly on one of the other episodes. The card shop is more than just a retail store.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hobby space. It's a community kind of gathering place. And you have to balance making it an environment that people want to come and play the games with a place that people will go to buy the game.
It was no more evident than on Saturday. I sat behind a counter and I was watching during the Lorcana segment. There were a couple more kids that came in with their parents. And your wife played with your daughter, and you played. You had your son there too. And it seemed like everybody was having a good time. It was very informal. A couple of newer players, the older players, and more seasoned players were helping them out, explaining how the game worked, actually giving them cards in some instances. And I think that's a good environment to have instead of having a ultra competitive environment. And some stores are like that. You walk in and, everybody looks at the person coming in and say, hey, that's new meat. We're going to beat the hell out of them, and beat the hell out of them as far as playing. And it's not a good feeling for a person that's coming into the store. And you have to make them feel welcomed.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an important thing. I think as far as the store owner controls, you control what you said that you've talked about. You've got how do you greet people? How do you treat people while they're in the store? Managing the people that are in the store, we've talked about that before. Getting people out of the store that are not productive or helpful, people that are kind of toxic to the environment.
Yeah, and we talked about this before where I've banned a couple of people. And I'll still continue to do that if I have problematic people. And I've had some people, I think, I'm not sure if I talked about this, that came in and smelled bad, really bad.
Yeah.
And, I made an announcement. I didn't want to embarrass them. And I said, hey, guys, one of you smell like a damn belly goat. I said, don't come in again next time like that, because if you do, I'm going to single you out and I'm going to embarrass you. Either they cleaned up their act or they didn't show back up. But, you're always going to have that coming in. And getting back to the culture, aspect of it, you mentioned the other day, we've got people from all walks of lives that come into the store. Some are, doctors, lawyers, professional people, online programmers, people who work at McDonald's or things like that. And they're all a homogeneous group. They get along together. And it's kind of satisfying to see that. And what's really satisfying to me as a store owner, who I've been doing this for 25 years, is to see kids that come in with their own kids now. And it's kind of fun to see that. And they'll still come back with their kids. And the kids are about 7 or 8 years old now. And they said, hey, I used to come here and, play, and you're going to start coming here and play. And they start playing together. And I've seen that happen quite often.
Yeah.
It's a good feeling.
I think one of the things that's kind of cool about the shop environment, this shop in particular, is that it's a place that people are welcome from all different backgrounds and also people of all different ages.
Mm-hmm.
We're a good group of people that are tolerant of younger players in the game. I know when we do Magic pre-releases, we get a lot of kids in the 10 to 14-year-old range, and they aren't the best of the game, but they're pretty excited to be playing, and they're excited for breaking open the new set. And it's really kind of contagious to have their energy at the table with you, and they're opening stuff. They're like, oh, that's so cool.
I've had people, if a young kid comes in and he doesn't have sleeves, they'll come up to me and they'll grab a pack of sleeves, put it on my account, and give it to the kid. And that's good. I mean, they don't have to do this, but it's really gratifying to see that happen. And again, that gets back to the store culture and how it's been developed over the years. And I'm proud of that. I'm very proud how it's turned out.
I think it's an important part of the business is to identify and define that culture. If you kind of aimlessly hang out and see if competitive players show up or if casual players show up, I think what you'll end up with is nobody showing up.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can make the affirmative choice to say, I would like to cater to and make this an appealing environment for these kind of people. In business, they talk about creating your ideal client as a hypothetical, mental exercise, and then making your decisions about how you conduct business based on what that person would do or want. And I think that's an important thing maybe to do as a shop owner when you're starting out, to think am I promoting casual play? Am I promoting competitive play? Do I want to be a mix? And how do I do that? And how do I show that appeal to people that are coming in?
That's a very fine line, and you have to use your gut feeling about it, and you have to listen to your players. We tried competitive tournaments with Lorcana. At the beginning, we were just league play. And then a couple of people say, we want to start doing tournaments. But then we started getting less people coming into playing casual. And it just didn't work. So that's why we don't do competitive tournaments all the time. And, my philosophy is you have to look at I'm sure you heard of the 80-20 rule as far as, your business. You got people in the 20% that spend a lot of money. And then you've got the other 80% that they'll spend whatever they have whenever they can get it. But you can't cater to just the 20 percenters, because what happens if you lose that 20%?
Right.
And then you're stuck, because you got to rely on that 80% to keep you going. So you have to treat everybody equally and try to make, I have some people that, hey, I want this, and they spend a lot of money in the store. I'll make sure they get it. And I'll try my damnedest to get it for the other people too, because you have to keep everybody happy.
Yeah. I think that's interesting. I think it's a good thing to think about and talk about. The other thing is, we did have that conversation about the types of people that play in the store. And I think it's impressive, the array of people that we can sit down at the table for any of the games. Particularly like on a Magic pre-release weekend, when you've got upwards of 30 people that have shown up, and you've got people that range from like middle school students to like doctors, and everybody in between, and everybody sits and has fun, and they're able to come together because of a game that's being played. So there's a lot of mutual respect, and I think it's good to have that culture. What else do you want to talk about in terms of culture, John?
That's it as far as culture that I can think of right at this moment. That's the way my brain thinks or works. Who knows? 2 minutes from now, I'm liable to come up with something else. But
2 minutes from now, we may come back to the topic.
I just may.
All right. Do you got anything for us on the 3E segment today, John?
Oh, my Snapple Apple caps.
Oh, goodness. We're back to the Snapple.
Yeah, that's going to be important, because that's how I get a lot of my information. One of these Snapple caps this week, they said 11 of the 50 states were named after a person. Did you know that?
I didn't know it was 11.
It's 11 of them. And, naturally, it's just a little print on the caps. They don't go into the detail. So I went into Wikipedia and I found it. 6 of those are named to honor European monarchs: the 2 Carolinas, the Virginias, which is West Virginia and Virginia, Georgia and Louisiana. Maryland is named after Queen Henrietta Marie, Queen Consort of King Charles I of England, and New York after the then Duke of York, who later became King James II of England. And then over the years, several attempts have been made to name a state after one of the founding fathers, or the great statements, like the state of Franklin, the state of Jefferson, and the state of Lincoln. Well, that never materialized. However, the only one that really stuck was Washington State. So that's named after George Washington. And then the other one is Pennsylvania. And originally it was Penn's Wood, who was named after the Admiral William Penn, father of its founder, William Penn. And then Delaware, Sir Thomas West, that was his name, and his title was Lord Delaware. And then the other one it's actually a District of Columbia, and that was named for Christopher Columbus. So there was 11 states and 1 district, which is District of Columbia. And the next one I have is the Statue of Liberty features 7 points in her crown, 1 for each of the continents. Do you know what they are?
Do I know the 7 continents?
Yeah, all right, I'm going to put you on the spot.
All right. You want me to just name them?
Go from the largest to the smallest.
You want to go big to little?
Yeah, or little to big. I don't care. Can you do it?
No, I don't think I can do that.
All right, name them. Let's see.
I can name them all.
All right, go ahead.
You got Asia.
Uh-huh.
You got Africa.
Uh-huh.
You got Antarctica.
Uh-huh.
You got South America, North America, Australia, and Europe.
You got them. I'm proud of you, Noah.
Oh, man, you put me on the spot like that.
Yeah, damn, I'm going to put you on the spot. All right, from the largest to the smallest. The largest is Asia, Africa, North America, South America, Antarctica, Europe, and Australia is the smallest. But see, I learned that from a Snapple cap. Snapple apple, actually.
See, I could do the core 6 continents by size. It was where does Antarctica fit? Because I wonder how they measure the ice formations versus the actual landmass.
I don't know.
So don't get me on nerd things, John. I can go nerdy. You got anything else nerdy on your 3Es this week?
No, I'm pretty good. I'm just rambling on here. No, that's about it. Yeah, we're good.
All right. Well, I want to take a second to talk about some of the benefits we've added to the Patreon support options.
What do you call a member? A Patreon or a patron?
Patron.
Because I've had a lot of people say, "Hey, Patreons, I'm a Patreon." No, you're a patron. I've heard that on the internet too.
I think it's patron.
That's what I thought.
Or a member.
You're a patron of Patreon.
Well, so on the website they're called members.
I see that.
So I guess they're a member of Patreon for a show.
Okay.
I don't know.
It's a matter of semantics.
For our podcast. So here's the deal. We've talked about it. We brainstormed. We took a little bit of feedback, and we have implemented one thing that is new for the patrons or the members of Patreon. I like patrons, so I'm going to say it. So the members of Patreon I just did the opposite of what I said.
I know you did. I'm watching you.
All right. So the members of Patreon get a couple of benefits when they subscribe. They get access to the Patreon avenue of communicating with us. We've used that to get some feedback from those that are on Patreon, and we appreciate that. And then we decided that we would add 2 other benefits. One is a common benefit, pretty common. Everybody usually has this, but we are giving a shout out or recognition to the people that are members of our Patreon. And for now, we can do that with everybody that's on Patreon. We would like to be able to have to limit that at some point because there's so many names that we can't possibly read them in a reasonable amount of time. But a second benefit that we have put on and that I wanted to mention is that we are using our recording software to record our entire recording session. So once we start getting stuff set up, we've turned on the video camera. You and I have some impromptu and informal conversations around that and around the recording process, about our planning a little bit. After we finish today, we're probably going to continue to talk for a little bit about next week's episode and plans that we have for future content. And that'll all go as a behind-the-scenes recording session video that is unedited. I'm not spending any time cutting stuff out of it. We're just putting it up on Patreon and letting people have a chance to see how the sausage is made. For those of you that want to have the curated, clean edit content for your audio or visual listening, we are going to edit down the episode, take out the extra stuff, and put the episodes up as podcast episodes on Spotify, YouTube, etc. But one of those benefits that we'll have for now is that behind-the-scene video on Patreon. And then you mentioned earlier today that we're trying to get show notes and things put together, transcripts, and those will also become a tiered benefit on Patreon in the future as well, we hope. But I just wanted to give a couple seconds to talk about that before we wrap up and go into our closing thoughts.
I just want one more thing I want to interject. I appreciate the people that come into the store that listen to the episodes. And we've gotten some pretty good feedback of what they'd like to see or what they'd like to hear in future episodes. And there's been some talented people that have offered to do some voice things for us and things like that have made offers. And one of the guys, his name is Shane, and he and his girlfriend, Gina, listen to podcasts. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the information that they're going to, that they're offering, willing to help us to succeed. And it's good. Again, getting back to the culture of the store, we have that type of environment. And Brandon, for instance, the other day, I said, because I solicit information, what would you like us to talk about? And his thing was, I want to learn more about your POS system. I want to learn more right from the beginning. And I think that's going to be maybe next week's episode. I know I touched upon it before. And it's going to be, I use Crystal Commerce, and I've used them ever since they started. So I'm one of the original members of them. They developed my website. They integrated the database into it, and I use it exclusively. That's the heart of my business right now, and that's a tangible part of my business that I have to have in order to be successful. Now, when I first started out in business, we didn't have this opportunity. We didn't have this kind of software or this support. But it's important as you grow your business. So I think the next episode we're going to talk a little bit more in depth, step by step. That's my plan. You got any thoughts? You like that?
Yeah, I think that's a cool idea.
Good.
I mean, and all the feedback that we get from people that come in and what the ideas they have are stuff that we definitely want to try to incorporate, and we do appreciate that feedback. Yeah, that's my thought on that.
Okay, good. And he also said to me, because he feels maybe it's a regionalized podcast. We talk about the store. He doesn't know how much expansion we're going to be able to have. So that's something we may have to think about in the future. Instead of talking about the local scene, maybe I don't know, maybe I misunderstood him, but we'll have to give some thought about how we're going to get this out there for being meaningful to a lot more people.
Well, subscribe to the Patreon and hear John and I continue this conversation in about 5 minutes after I do the call to action and close the show.
Go ahead. Go for it, Noah.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining us this week on Card Shop Insiders. We are very grateful for your support and listening to the show. If you like the show, please like, subscribe, and follow us on all the different platforms. The podcast can be found on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. And you can follow us on social media at Card Shop Insiders on Instagram and X. We do want to give a special thank you to our patrons who are subscribed on Patreon. And those people this week are, pause for effect, Brandon, Grant, and Benjamin, or Ben. We like to call him Ben.
Mm-hmm.
Ben, again, gets our number one first subscriber moniker. He will always have that. We still have to find out something fun to do to recognize him for that, but we'll figure that out in the future. All right. If you want to interact with the show or have questions, the best way to do that is to get onto the YouTube channel and post comments there. We do look for those. I haven't seen one of those yet. Be the first. Be exciting. If you do join the Patreon, you can message us through that platform directly. And then also we can get messages on Instagram and X. But if you have ideas or suggestions of things you'd like to hear, if you have stuff that's not regionally relevant to us, that is more broad that you'd like us to talk about, we'd like to hear that from you, and we'd like that feedback. We appreciate, again, everybody that's subscribed and supported the show in all the different ways. But until next week, we will bring you more from Behind the Counter.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you listening.